Hello, welcome to Lightroom Bite Size. Now in this bite size video, I'm going to take you on a tour around the library module. Now as we wander around, I will explain the various panels and tools and what they do. Now in further tutorials, I'll go into greater detail what each particular tool does. But for now, this video is all about getting you familiar with the layout of the library module. So, should we make a start? Yeah, come on, let's go. So with the library module open, I'm going to take you around the various panels and tools you have available. Now I'm going to jump ahead slightly, and I'm going to jump over to this left-hand panel and just expand this folders panel here. Now the reason I've done that is just to show you, I'm going to talk about this central part here, and this will help me on this left-hand side. So I currently have the Madrid folder open, and if I can scroll through all my photographs in the Madrid section. If I wanted to look at photographs of, say, Anfield Stadium in Liverpool, then I'll click on that folder icon. And I just thought I'd show you that first. We're going to go through this left-hand panel very shortly, but I just thought that's a nice little place to start, because this is what the library is all about: locating your photographs, cataloguing them, keywording them, favoriting them, all that type of stuff. But essentially, the biggest thing is the fact that you can access all your photographs from various folders that you've imported into the Lightroom catalogue. So, as I say, this central portion is your work area, and as I've mentioned before in previous videos, you can make these thumbnails bigger or smaller. It's entirely up to you. 3 abreast suits me perfect, so that's the way I leave mine. Of course, you can do all the things I've mentioned in previous videos, like lights out and view your images that way, and I did that by just simply pressing the letter L on the keyboard. So let's take a look at the various panels and tools that we can select while we're in the library module. So jumping up to the left panel, let's start with Navigator. So I'm just going to expand that, and the current photograph selected, as you can see here, it's a lighter grey. So as you change and select different photographs, you can sort of see which image is selected by this lighter grey area, and if you've got the Navigator open, you can see that it's reflected in the Navigator too. So I'm going to press the spacebar to fill the work area with this photograph. Now it defaults at the end of your mouse pointer, it will be a zoom tool. So I'm going to zoom in to this lady's face. Now I have a hand at the end of my mouse tool, and I can move the image around. If we jump up to the Navigator, there's a rectangle which is identical to what we're seeing in the work area. It's the same size, you can see that there, and I can drag that round, so that's another way of doing it. Now I can also change the ratio as well. So if I could change the ratio perhaps to 3:1, and that's going to zoom me in a bit more than 2:1, obviously. 2:1 is my preferred option. Now to return it back to the full sort of image, just click whilst not dragging, just click, and that will happen, and you'll go back to the previous state. So that is the Navigator tool, all pretty easy. I don't use it that much, to be honest, but that's what it is. The next one's Catalogue. So let's have a look at that. Now this is a very small catalogue, and I've produced this catalogue specifically for these Lightroom bite-sized tutorials. The catalogue will grow, but currently it only contains 254 photographs. My main work catalogue contains thousands, and yours will probably contain thousands. But for these bite-sized videos, it currently stands at 254. And there's no synced photographs, there's no quick collections yet, and the previous import, I just imported 1 photograph. So that's the catalogue. The next one is folders. Now I kind of touched on this at the very beginning of the tutorial. So I'm going to go back to the grid view just by pressing G. Now, I can, as I say, I can just jump between folders very easily. I can jump up to Barcelona, Anfield Stadium, as I say, you know, Sea Odyssey, and I can jump between all these various folders very easy. And once you're in a folder, you can select a photograph and then jump across to the develop module and develop it. So that's really good. You obviously use your folders panel quite a lot to access your photographs. The next one is collections. Now, there are no collections. I haven't created any yet. Now, in another tutorial video, we will take a look at collections. Collections are fantastic and really important, but we'll look at that in another video. But just to give you a heads up what a collection is, imagine you would like one folder containing photographs from various folders. So, for instance, would be I might want a folder that contains photographs I've captured in Spain, street photographs in Spain, my favourite street photographs of Spain. And you can see in my folders section, I have a Madrid folder and a Barcelona folder. So I could make a collection of my favourite shots from both folders. And that comes in really useful when you get to the develop module. And it's the same for, I notice here I've got a folder called Sophie and one called Sarah. So I could make a folder called models and pop photographs in that has both Sarah and Sophie, my favourite model shots. So collections are fantastic. And as I say, in another video, I will take you through how easy it is to create a collection. So continuing down to the bottom of the panel, we have our import and export buttons. And I guess they're quite self-explanatory, aren't they? I will take you through the whole export procedure and show you the best way of setting that up, again, in another tutorial. Now, along the bottom, we have a toolbar. And we can add and subtract to this toolbar with this little drop-down triangle. And we can add stuff. I could add rating, for instance, and onto the toolbar now appears the star rating system. So we've kind of looked at these first two, and again, I'm not going to go through these in too much detail, but we know that's the grid view, and we know that this one is the loop view, and the shortcuts for those, which is G and E. Oddly enough, you can actually press the space bar as well for the loop view. And then we've got like an X and Y comparison of two shots, etc., etc. And we'll go through all these, as I say, in another video, how you can use this to keyword shots and how you can rate your shots and spin them round and stuff like that. So that's that toolbar along the bottom. So moving over to the right-hand panel, let's take a look at what we've got here. The first one is a histogram. So let's expand that and take a look. Let's pick a photograph. Let's pick this one, for instance. A histogram is really useful, I think. I'm just going to go into the loop view for this. If we look at the histogram, one of the great things is I can see information about that photograph. I can see that it was shot at ISO 4000, focal length 75mm, aperture f2.8, and the shutter speed at 1/125th of a second. So you can get information about, there's many ways to get information about your shot, but it's readily available on the histogram. And also I can see that this shot is exposed really well. Now, when we get to the develop set of tutorial videos, we'll look at the histogram in more detail. But just to let you know, a little heads up if you like, that a well-exposed shot generally goes from one corner to the other. All the shadows and blacks to the left-hand side, all the whites and highlights to the right-hand side. And it's got quite a good range, and it goes, as I say, goes from one side to the other. So that is a pretty well-exposed photograph. So that is the histogram. Next one is quick develop. I don't see any reason why you would ever use quick develop. When you think about it, quick develop, why would you use that when you've got the fantastic tools available in the develop module? And that's where you're going to do all your fantastic editing and be really creative. These are just quick sort of adjustments you can make to exposure and vibrance. So I just never use those, so I can't imagine that you would either. So, but that's what it is. Now, keywording, we're going to do a whole video on keywording. Now, with this shot open on screen and selected on screen, I can see that it's already being keyworded with two words, Madrid and Madrid Street. So I've already added them at some point. Below it, we have keyword suggestions. And again, this will fill and be populated. The more keywords you add, they will appear here. And you can just simply click on one of them suggestions if you think it suits the photograph that you've got on the screen or the photographs you have selected on screen. The one below it is recent keywords that I've used, keyword sets. So yeah, we'll look at that in greater detail. But that is keywording. Keyword list is quite good. Let me go back to the grid view just by pressing G. I can see that I have two photographs that have been keyworded with the word Crystal Palace, 29 with Madrid, etc., etc. You can see that. Now, if I clicked on this little arrow, Sophie Blue, there's 16 photographs keyworded with the word Sophie Blue. And if I click on the arrow here, what will happen is those images will appear on screen. And there you go. These are the shots of Sophie, completely from a different folder, but I'm able to access them and locate them because they're being keyworded. So keywording is a really important part of the whole Lightroom system. It helps you locate your photographs really easily. So it is quite important to keyword your shots. So let's go back to the Madrid folder and carry on then. Here we are back in the Madrid folder. So the next one then is metadata or metadata. Depends what you want to call it. It's metadata, isn't it? Here's where you can add metadata about your photographs. You can select them all and add it as a group of shots or individually or whatever you want to do. And you've got your presets here. Now this, if you've followed all the videos, you will see that when you're actually importing your photographs into Lightroom, you're given the opportunity to add metadata. But if you didn't do it on the import stage, you have got the option to do it now. So that is your metadata. And then comments, I don't bother with comments, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Now, these two grayed out at the bottom, again, we're not going to look at those because that is how I could select several photographs, and then when I'm in the quick develop panel, whatever change to exposure I made to one photograph, it would change. If I had several selected, it would change the exposure on every photograph selected. Here's an aeroplane just going overhead. I mean, you should wonder what that noise was. But yeah, so that kind of completes all the different panels that you have in the library module. So just before we finish then, I thought it would be nice to show you my thought process before I jump from the library module to the develop module. So let's take a look at this shot then in the loop view. So I remember taking the shot in Madrid and I exposed deliberately, slightly underexposed the shot to keep the detail in the sky. Now the brilliant thing about Lightroom is, and also shooting in RAW, now obviously Lightroom works with JPEGs as well, but when you shoot in RAW, that photograph sort of retains a lot of information. It's got a greater dynamic range. So I kind of underexposed this shot slightly, knowing that in the develop module, it would be simple to reclaim all the shadow details. So let's go into full screen mode and we'll take a look then. So once you get to grips with the develop module and you begin to understand the way it works, And again, there'll be many tutorial videos on the develop module to come. But I took this image on screen from this underexposed, but all the detail is there, don't forget. And it went from that to that. Now all that detail is there. And what I've done is lifted the shadows and messed around with the colours and got it to my taste. And the new thing about Lightroom is there's that many edits that you could do. It's such a variation. And what one photographer will, his finished edit will be completely different to another photographer's work. And that's one of the joys of Lightroom. Also, going back to the original image, I could also, after I've got the exposure right in the develop module, I can create a black and white version as well. Now, again, very simple to do. I actually prefer the colour version. So let's go back to the grid view and I'll just show you one more shot. And again, just to explain my thought process on the editing side of things. So I remember taking this shot as well, also in Madrid, which is odd, isn't it? Because we are in the Madrid folder. Yeah, so if we look at this shot, the camera is exposed correctly for all the highlights in the center of the shot, and that's what I wanted. And it was getting pretty dark this particular evening. It was, it wasn't total darkness, but night was setting in. Now this shot, when you get better at editing, you can kind of plan how the edit's going to be as you're taking the shot, if that makes sense. And that's what I did with this shot. I knew that it would have problems with exposure, but I knew that Lightroom would help me out in fixing the exposure and being creative too. So what I did was, the areas surrounding the central image, I made a decision to turn them to a kind of what we call a teal colour, and it's like a bluey green. Now why would I make it that bluey green colour? Well, on the colour spectrum, the bluey green teal is at the opposite end of the spectrum of skin colour. And believe it or not, skin's like a kind of orange. It's got more orange in it than it has pink. So that makes skin detail really sort of pop out of your image. It's done a lot in movies and stuff. I'm sure there's loads of videos on YouTube about, teal and orange. But that's what I decided to do with this shot. I also made the light coming through these windows. I made that a bit, put a bit more yellow into that. If I zoom in over here, by the way, I think you can see that this had like a red finish to it, a very light red. So my mission was to change the colour of this red, basically, and to bring out a teal colour. Also, if I look over here, there's stickers up this lamppost. Well, actually, it's not a lamppost, it's a drain pipe, but there's stickers on it, and they kind of dragged my eye over there, so I took them out. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't take them out in Lightroom, I took them out in Photoshop, but Photoshop and Lightroom work together seamlessly, and if you've got Lightroom CC, you will have Photoshop too. I also took out the bits of chewing gum on the pavement, so it went from what you can see on the screen now to the finished image, which is that. Now it's much more pleasing, isn't it? I've added a bit of film grain to it as well, and craftily added my company logo because it just seems to sit nicely on that advertisement board, which was blank. So back to the previous image, looked like that. And knowing, once you get good with Lightroom, knowing that you can make these edits, I think it allows you to be a bit more creative with your camera, because as long as your subject matter is interesting, that you can turn it from something like this to something like this. So that was the library module. Simple, isn't it? Now, as I say, in further tutorials, I'll take you through each tool and all the options that you have. But I thought it'd be really nice to just put your mind at ease and show you really how simple the library module can be. Now, please, if you like this button, please, I've said please a few times there, a bit needy. If you like this video, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, and also click on the little bell icon, and you'll be notified when I upload further tutorials. So take care, and I will see you in the next upload. Bye for now.
Take a photograph.